So in Ottawa, ladies and gentlemen, there was a demonstration that took forth. From CP24, Elbows Up Canada. Demonstrators gather on Parliament Hill to protest Trump's tariffs. Wait, so you're telling me that Canadians gathered in Ottawa, blocking streets, disrupting traffic, showing Canadian pride, and the cops didn't show up? Interesting. Interesting. I thought this definitely looks like some sort of right-wing Nazi white supremacist demonstration. I mean, that's what I was trained to see, that any sort of resemblance of Canadians peacefully protesting is downright disgraceful. I was told that during the Freedom Convoy, but apparently this is okay. So, about 1,000 demonstrators gathered on Parliament Hill on Sunday to denounce U.S. tariffs on President Donald Trump's threats to annex Canada. Many in attendance were seen carrying red and white maple leaf flags and holding signs with the words "Canada is not for sale" and "Canada strong and free." The protest, called Elbows Up Canada, was held to celebrate our country, affirm our sovereignty, organizers said on the event's Facebook page. Elbows Up has become a war cry of the Canadian resistance to Trump and has found its way to t-shirts and social media feeds alike. Local officials, including Mayor Mark Sutcliffe and Ottawa Centre MP Yazir Nakavi, were in attendance. Protesters and calls for Canada to stand up to Trump's threats have been growing since the president imposed, then later paused, 25% tariffs on imports from Mexico and Canada. Again, completely leaving out why the tariffs are in place. This is classic media manipulation on people. This is why people are doing these stupid protests. Instead of protesting things like, hey, on top of the tariffs, you're also going to have an increase to carbon taxes, which is going to affect your food prices, which is going to affect your fuel, which is going to affect heating your house and electricity. Where's those protests? Where's that anger? Oh, because that's going to be anger towards the government. That's why they were allowed to do this protest, because if it's against Trump, it's okay. But if it's against our government, our leaders, the ones that are actually responsible for the economic process in this country, oh no, we can't allow that. We got to call them Nazis. Earlier this week, dozens of protesters lined the sidewalks across the U.S. Embassy in Ottawa shortly after the tariffs went into effect and called on Canadians to stand up to Trump's rhetoric. Trump has increased his rhetoric against Canada since he was reelected in November, stating his desire to make Canada the 51st state and mocking the Prime Minister with the nickname Governor Justin Trudeau. Canada has responded with a tariff plan of its own. The federal government suspended a planned second wave of retaliatory tariffs after Trump signed an executive order Thursday delaying tariffs on goods that meet the rules of origin requirements under the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. Many provinces have also responded by pulling American liquor off their shelves to fight back against the trade war. Yeah, after they just bought it. That again, just showing the utmost astutity and stupidity that comes out of this. So here is Mark Sutcliffe. There's the mayor of Ottawa, who once called a bunch of demonstrators who were holding Canadian flags a bunch of scum, and got the Ottawa Police Department, the RCMP, to crack the heads on those protesters. Look what he's saying about this. Wow. What a great rally for Canada. Canadians are known for being kind and polite, but no one should ever estimate Canada. So again, amazing how, showing the double hypocrisy of this. Amazing how, if it's a protest against Trump that supports the Canadian establishment, that's okay. It's okay to block streets. It's okay to hold rallies. It's okay to hold up the Canadian flag. It's okay to gather on city streets blocking traffic. It's okay for that. But when it came to going against the mandates and it came to uniting people after they were discouraged, after they were called anti-vaxxers, after their own government kicked them out of society. Hey, you can't see grandma, you can't go and hang out with your friends, you can't go outside, you can't do this, you can't do that unless you get the jab. But then they lied to you and told you that, oh, we didn't mandate it, we didn't force people to do it. That rally, they brought in cops and cracked the heads of people, but this is okay. Showing the utmost hypocrisy of this. But luckily, we have some footage of that rally. And here's what went down.
Point that at someone's face. That makes fucking sense.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was the Freedom Convoy. Again, Canadians holding up Canadian flags, supporting Canadians. They had the cops crack the heads of those people back in 2022. But it's okay now because now it's directed at Trump. Now it's anger towards Trump and Elon Musk. Because we're angry at them, it's okay to have a rally. But if it's a rally against horrific mandates that affect everybody and trying to unite Canadians that were subsequently divided during the pandemic, oh God, no. Oh God, no. We can never allow that to happen. That's why we got to arrest and make up charges against the two organizers, Tamara Leach and Chris Barber. We have to extend and prologue their trial period. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to scare and fearmonger people to say that there was a bunch of Nazis there and white supremacists. Even though there was Canadians of all walks of life, Indigenous, Indian, Asian Canadians, all walks of life, from all different occupations, gathering together peacefully to demonstrate against the tyrannical corruption of their own government, which is what we should be doing. These rallies should be against our own government for allowing Donald Trump to introduce these tariffs. Because we wouldn't be in this mess if they properly fixed the border, if they dealt with the fentanyl crisis, if they worked together to fix the economy for the greater good of Canada. And stop bending the knee to their overlord masters at the WEF and NATO that don't give a damn about Canada, that don't give a damn about sovereignty, and want to drain us dry. So, this guy, Bill K00, I'm confused. I was under the impression that exhibiting any nationalism is extreme right-wing behavior. That sure was the case with the trucker protest, but it seems to be the latest fashion now. Yeah, because now patriotism, they manufacture consent, they change the narrative to better suit them. It's okay to be patriotic if it goes against someone like Donald Trump, but it's not going to be patriotic if it goes against the Canadian government that screwed you over. Right so far, not far right. When will we see the horses to trample protesters? Because you saw people with Canada flags. That's a big no-no, apparently, with our government. That's a big no-no. That's when you get the RCMP out to trample them and call them a bunch of fascists. I wonder if they got searched and asked for their vaccine passports. Are you allowed to protest? Are you allowed to be outside? Let's see how many boosters you got. How many boosters you got? Wow. So, and here's the icing on the cake of this is we know that these tariffs are purposely staying on, that they're not actually working to resolve this because it keeps people like Mark Carney in power. And just to show you this is Mark Carney even stating this in his own leadership race win. Just did. New Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says, "My government will keep tariffs on until the Americans show us some respect." So instead of informing people that we all know that Donald Trump gave you the ultimatum to fix the border, to deal with the fentanyl crisis that we know is catastrophic in this country, that could easily resolve these tariffs, he wants to keep them on as long as possible. And here's him openly stating this after he just got coordinated to become the next prime minister.
The Canadian government has rightly retaliated and is rightly retaliating with our own tariffs that will have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impact here in Canada.
We had the right to retaliate with more tariffs instead of actually responding to our people that could have easily resolved all this. So you could tell that he's using this deliberately to keep himself in power. That is why these tariffs exist. That is why they're keeping this as long as possible. It's not to benefit you. It's not to go after and save the Canadian working class from Trump. They're using this. They're using this to their own advantage. And it screws over Canada. It screws over this nation. Instead of actually going to the drawing board of the original intent of these tariffs, the original ultimatum, and pointing out the fact that we wouldn't be in this mess if it wasn't for the corrupt liberal government that put this country in such disparity. That allowed for Donald Trump to initiate tariff threats. Because if we had a secure border, if we dealt with our fentanyl crisis properly, if we had a more responsive economic sustainability that helps serve Canadians and serve the well-being of this country, we wouldn't be in this problematic situation. But they did deliberately. They did deliberately because they've always wanted to pin some sort of rhetoric against Donald Trump. Again, I'm not a psychologist, but my theory has always been that this is the tale of two clashes. This is the Donald Trump, Elon Musk oligarchy in America versus the neoliberal world establishment order trying to butt heads towards each other, which is something that they've always wanted to do. They've always wanted to do. And it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help Canadians. It doesn't help Americans. So all these people that were protesting in Ottawa just completely embarrassed themselves. And that's why they're able to do a protest like this, because it's not effective. It was actually effective if it actually did something. They'd be nervous about this. Mark Sutcliffe, the mayor of Ottawa, would be calling the police on this if it actually did something. If it actually resembled into actual political movement or change. But because this is empty, this was a nothing burger, they were allowed to do this. And all this shows is the utter hypocrisy of our politicians and using this horrific situation that could have been easily avoidable to their own advantage and manipulating people to be on their path, to manufacture the narrative, to keep control of people, to keep power over people. Because they don't want to actually do anything in helping this situation. They just want to throw on more tariffs and pretend that this is going to be a kickback against America. When really this is all because of them. This is all because of the Liberal Party. This is all because of the catastrophic damages that Justin Trudeau and his cabinet members and people like Mark Carney have all put in place and decimated on Canadians.